So hello guys, my name is Clara, and you are watching Anime Recapped with Sonia. Let's start the video. So at the start of the episode we see that all the adventurers are partying and Rio is not able to understand what is actually going on there. Then we see that Hugh is quite troubled because due to the great tidal bore his work has increased a lot. In which he has to send reports to the regional lord and the capital. He has to request funds for the great tidal bore. He has to give payments to those adventurers who participated in it, and has to restore and replenish all the facilities again. And to make the budget for all this while also running the guild. Hugh says that along with all this, researchers will also definitely come who would want to know what happened here. While the dungeon will be closed for a month. Then in the next scene we see Crimson Sword in that party, and then we see that Niels, Ito and Amon are also there and they tell Rio that they are celebrating the end of the great tidal bore. Niels tells Rio that you should have seen Abel. He swung his sword like this, and then he signaled Lin to unleash quite an amazing spell. Ito says that was a bullet train. It's one of the most powerful wind spells. Amon says and only Abel dodged it. Then we see that Abel comes there and tells them that the skill was perfect shadow. It is a technique by which any kind of ranged attack even if it is magic can be dodged. Then we see Crimson Sword comes there and they are looking for Abel. Ria says to Lin that I told you right that he must be with Rio. Rio is his favorite person. Then we see Lin asks Rio that can you really make a huge ice wall in the air. Rio says yes I can do this but only up to 40 meters is my limit till now. Lin asks is this an original spell? Rio asks what do you mean by original? Then Lin says to him that most magic is done with existing incantations. Then Rio says to her that incantations are just for personal preference. Hearing this Lin gets shocked and then we see that Rio goes away from there and Abel tells Lin that Rio thinks that we do incantations only because they are impressive and Rio can cast magic without incantations. Hearing this Lin gets even more shocked. Then in the next scene we see that Niels, Ito and Amon are worried because there is no job in the guild. Then we see Rio comes there and asks them what happened. Then Niels tells Rio that we were thinking of doing some surface jobs to earn some money. Then Ito tells Rio that from the past few days there are a lot of problems going on. So bearers are not putting any job requests. Then Rio tells them that he came there to take some ores for alchemy but all were sold out. Ito asks him are you talking about magic copper ore? That is very expensive. Then Rio tells him that according to what I heard in the general store it costs almost 5 lakh florins. Amon says that is full 50 gold coins. Then Rio tells them why don't I hire you? If there is any place outside the dungeon to collect magic copper, or then I would be very glad. Then Ito tells him that near the village of Roos there is an abundant mine. Then Rio tells them I will give for gold coins per person, and whatever more you bring, I will buy it at 25 gold coins. Then we see that all three agree for this job. Then we see that Rio comes into his room, and there he hears some noise so he looks down from the window, and he sees that some knights are troubling a girl, and one man is stopping them. We see that those knights start to take that girl with them. But we see that man rescues that girl from the knight. Seeing this that knight points his sword at that man, and then goes to kill that man. But we see that knight falls down. He asks him what did you do? Then that man says I did nothing. You just fell down. That man tries to stand again but he falls again. Then we see that Felth comes there and says to them that if you claim to be a knight then you should behave like one. That knight says to Felth that you are just an adventurer so don't talk too much. Felth says to him that even though I am an adventurer, but I am also a nobleman of this kingdom. Then Felth gives them his introduction, and tells them my name is Felth A. Heinlein, and I am heir of House Heinlein. Then one knight standing at the back says are you talking about the former commander of Royal Knights? Then Felth says yes and Alexis Heinlein is my father. Then we see that hearing this all those knights run away from there. Then that boy and girl thank Felth, and then they go away. Then Felth sees Rio, and says to him you must be Rio. Then Felth tells him that I am leader of White Brigade Felth. Felth says to him that Abel told me but your magic is really interesting. Then we come to know that the knight was falling again and again because of Rio's magic. Felth tells Rio that Abel was saying to us that winning the great tidal war became much easier with your help. Then we see that Shayna comes there and tells Felth to go. Then we see that both of them start going from there and seeing them Rio thinks in his mind that both of them are really strong. But I don't know why son of Marquis is an adventurer. Then in the next scene, we see Rio sitting in a restaurant eating food, and then we see that Abel also comes there. Then Abel orders food and then Rio asks Abel that seeing you alone is quite rare. Are you going to the pleasure district? Hearing this Abel shuts Rio's mouth and says don't talk nonsense. Someone will hear. Rio says to him that from your reaction I feel you want to avoid this topic. Did you like some girl? Abel says nothing like that. Rio says to him, I don't think making moves on Lynn would be right. Then Abel says no, it's not like that. She likes Warren. Rio asks him, so does that mean you are interested in Rhea? Then we see hearing this Abel gets very shocked and shouts at him that nothing like that. Rio asks then why are you alone? Abel says that if you have nothing to do then I want your help. Then we see Abel and Rio going somewhere and Abel says to Rio that one of the investigators dispatched for Lynn I know. Abel says to Rio that along with them some royal knights are coming for guard but some of them are really useless and they ran away, so before they create any problem I am going to collect them. Then we see Rio stops and calls Abel and shows him something and says that here there are some adventurers who were not in your welcome home party and I don't know them. Abel says to him that there is dungeon in this town, so traveling adventurers keep coming here. Rio says but dungeon is closed at this time. Then we see Abel and Rio follow those adventurers and then we see that those adventurers attack them from behind. But then Rio uses his ice magic and attacks all of them and makes them unconscious. Then Abel finds an alchemy tool there and says to use it as evidence. Then they tie those adventurers and Abel checks their guild ID and tells that they are C-rank adventurers who came from Jack Lair, and that is capital of Handlu. Then they talk of handing them to town guards and go from there. Then scene changes and we see Felth going somewhere. Just then we see that behind him are those knights, and they talk of killing Felth. But then we see that all of them are not able to move, and they become paralyzed. Then we see behind them Shayna, and she uses fire magic and kills all of them. Felth says you did good work Shayna. Then in the next scene, we see that investigators from Royal Capital arrive. Then we see them in the guild office and Hugh says to them, what are you doing? You have taken control of all food stores as soon as you came, and you want us to open the dungeon for your investigation, and you also need adventurers for protection. Is this some joke? Then we see one man says to Hugh that his Royal Magic Domestic Affairs Minister has made me head of this research expedition, and has given us full authority. That man says to Hugh, do you know what full authority means? Then Hugh says yes, but Clive Stables, do you understand concept of unreasonable? Then we see that another man tells both of them to calm down, and says to Hugh that I apologize for food, and in future I will arrange our food from neighboring town. Clive says that settles our food matter, but I won't compromise on dungeon reopening. Hugh says okay, we will open the dungeon, but no adventurer guild of Lone Town will take its responsibility. Then that other man says to Clive that we have to accept this. Then he asks Hugh, can we hire adventurers at more than standard rate? Right? Then Hugh says that depends on adventurers. But I warn you. There is no record of what happens in the dungeon after Great Tidal Bore. So you be careful there. Then scene changes and we see Rio outside a building. Rio says Abel's party stays here, so here must be cafeteria area. Just then we see one girl comes out of that building, and she is in a hurry, and she goes somewhere. But then she comes back and asks Rio, are you an adventurer? Rio says yes. Then that girl says I need to go quickly to the Adventurers Guild. Can you take me there? Rio says but I have to eat food now. Then that girl again says to him I have a letter, and I have to deliver it, and then she requests him. So we see that Rio agrees and brings her to the guild where Abel's party is, and then that girl gives that letter to Abel's party and says it has been sent by a Professor Hilarion from the capital. Abel reads that letter and tells them that they asked us to support court magicians who are going to investigate the dungeon. Seeing this, Abel becomes a bit worried. Then Rio asks him what happened. Then Abel tells him that dungeon remains closed because many years ago after the Great Tidal War an A-rank party never returned from it, and their leader was a superhuman equal to S-rank, and even he never came back. In other words, no one knows what happens in the dungeon after the Great Tidal Bore. Then Rio says I have to go eat food, and saying this he leaves from there. Then that girl thanks Rio, and we see Rio leaves. Then Rhea asks that girl her name. Then that girl tells them that my name is Natalie Swordscope. Lynn asks her, do you mean from Swordscope family of great water magicians? Then Natalie says yes. Lynn asks her, have you heard of a magic that creates a huge ice wall in air? Natalie says I have never heard of such magic. She asks, does any such magic really exist? Then Rhea tells her the one who just dropped you here can cast that magic. Then Abel tells his party that this is a good opportunity. Let me make it clear to you all. None of us will ever fight Rio. I feel that he is stronger than all four of us. So if you ever go against him, then surrender. I don't think he will kill you. This is an order from party leader. Then Abel tells Natalie that if you ever need help and you can't find us, then you go to Rio. You will find him in Adventurer's Lodge in Room Turn or in Library. Then next scene, we see all investigators near dungeon, and we see Hilarion showing Abel a device, and says this is a mana detector. It detects mana of our surrounding environment and then transmits it to analysis team. Abel says with alchemy we can make quite strange things. Ryan says, are you interested in alchemy? Then Abel says, no, one of my friends is. He is quite interested in alchemy. Then Abel tells all of them to go inside and says we will only go till 3rd layer, and we will move slowly. Then scene changes and we see Rio gave Niels, Ito and Amon 9 lakh florins because they brought 2 ores for Rio. Ito says I am quite surprised that they reopened dungeon. Then Rio says but they are allowing only D rankers or higher rank to go inside. Then scene changes again and we see Abel's party and those investigators in danger. Abel says in these 3 days we found nothing in 7 layers. Then Ryan says surface team is reviewing our readings and they too found nothing till now. Hearing this Abel says we have to go deeper. Then Abel sees that people from Royal Central University are going inside dungeon in a hurry. Ria tells Abel that they are operating on this theory that monsters of great tidal bore originated from 38th floor, and this information I got from an old coworker. Abel asks, is that coworker the one when you were priestess of Royal Central Temple? Should she share such information? Then Ria says there is no problem because priestess is always in demand. Then scene changes again, and we see Hugh telling all adventurers that E and F rank parties will not go to escort investigation team, and all of you who are bringing food from neighboring town will provide them security. Then he asks all of them, does anyone have any question? Then Ria asks him what was the color of magic stones recovered from monsters in Great Tidal Bore. Then Hugh tells him that color of magic stones collected from monsters of Great Tidal Bore was pale, and in that Goblin King and Goblin Generals are included. Then scene changes again, and we see Clive finds a gate. One man says to him that this might be connected to another location. Then all of them set some devices there and they check mana density of the other side of the gate with those devices. But we see that as soon as they put that device on that gate all of them disappear from there. And Natalie sees that their readings have disappeared, and we see that here the episode ends. So guys, this was episode 6 of The Water Magician. If you liked the video, then like the video, subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon. I will meet you in the next video. Thank you.